How's it going, guys? Akira here, and today I want to talk to you guys about 5 Wii U games that are still stuck on Wii U. So Nintendo has done a really good job at porting Wii U games over to the Switch, since the Wii U was a commercial failure and pretty much almost nobody had the console. And a lot of the normies, right? The casual players, they moved on, in their mind, they're like, oh, the Nintendo had the Wii back in the day, now they're on the Switch, right? So it's a good way for Nintendo to introduce these games to them. But here I want to show you 5 games that are still stuck on Wii U that, perhaps you should get, because chances are these are not coming to the Switch or the Switch 2 at all. And if they are, it's like a 2% chance. And yeah, the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming to the Switch is the reason why I'm doing this video, since I'm excited for that port, since I'm a huge Xenoblade fan. So the first game we have here is Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. This is one of those games where I highly doubt that it'll come to the Switch due to it needing the touchscreen and having to draw with the stylus. And from as far as we know, the Switch 2 is not gonna have a stylus. The Switch doesn't have a stylus, and the double screen where you can draw and look and stuff like that. It'll be really hard for them to implicate that. If you were to draw on the Switch tablet or the Switch 2 tablet, it would have to be with a finger, and that is not as precise as it would be with obviously a stylus, right? Since your finger, usually there would be more. It would be harder to be precise, obviously, but yeah. So that's one I highly recommend to get, and it's just I want to just highlight it to you guys that perhaps you should get on the Wii U before maybe it goes crazy up in price, on the off chance it does. The second one here we have is Star Fox Zero. Again, also came out in the Wii U's late lifespan, so around 2016 is when this game came out. And another one, just like the Kirby game, it is built around the gamepad. It uses the gamepad, the motion controls of the gamepad, the gyro, and also the screen. It gives you a cockpit view. A cockpit view if you're looking at the tablet screen, but then it gives you like the regular view in the TV screen. And then it utilizes those two, and that'll be really hard to mimic on a Switch. It'll have to be where they redesign the whole game. At that point, it would just probably be a brand new game rather than being some sort of port of this. So yeah, this is probably not coming to the Switch or the Switch 2 at all. And I know this is a very controversial game. A lot of people really hate it because of the controls and the tablet and how gimmicky it felt, and it's just very unresponsive and unpolished. So yeah, so that's another game where the chances are pretty much almost none that it'll come to the Switch or Switch 2. Funny enough, I think Kirby has a higher chance of coming to the Switch 2 over the Star Fox game. The next one here is Nintendo Land, right? This one is probably has the least amount of chance for it coming to the Switch or Switch 2, because it's supposed to utilize the dual screen of the touchpad of the touchscreen, of the gamepad, and obviously with the TV. And then some multiplayer games, let's say players 1 through 4 look at the TV and they're playing on a regular controller. Meanwhile, the 5th player is like looking at the gamepad, and he has a completely different view than the ones looking at the screen. Stuff like that. It's not gonna be able to emulate on a Switch, unless they do some weird gimmick where like you could use 2 switches or something like that, where one switch mimics the gamepad, and then the other switch is docked and it shows a completely different view on the TV. But they're probably not gonna do that, and it's just too inconvenient, too cumbersome. And yeah, I think the chances of this one is like the least likely out of all of them, to be honest. And then the last two, which these last 2 games, they are the most requested games that everybody wants Nintendo to port over from the Wii U to the Switch, or I guess now Switch 2, since that is coming really close. And it would be Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD, and then my favorite Wii U game, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. Now these two would be perfect. Oh my god, these two would be perfect for the Switch. And the fact that we've been on going on the Switch's lifespan, and still these 2 games haven't come out for the Switch, is ridiculous at this point. I think these are easy ports. Um, Literally just, sure, people be like, oh, but you could look at the map and map some of the weapons and stuff with a touchscreen. You can easily remove that. These games are from consoles, older consoles that don't have a gamepad with a touchscreen and a second screen. These are GameCube games. You know, uh, uh, a console that just requires a normal controller. You could easily just move that feature back to like a pause menu um screen or something. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't understand what's going on with Nintendo. Probably someone has like a gripe against these two games. That's literally the only explanation I can give you guys. That somebody really must hate Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, because they're like, wow, we don't want those games on the Switch at all. And it's like, dude, it's been 8 years since the Switch has come out, right? Nine, almost nine, or whatever it is. Nintendo, they count year one from the beginning to the completion of the year one instead of the completion of year one. So technically they say it's 9 years. Meanwhile, it's actually 8 years, but whatever. Regardless, yeah, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words why these two have not been on the Switch yet. These are perfect ports. Oh my god, can you imagine playing like Twilight Princess and Wind Waker portably? And dude, since these are two of my favorite Zelda games, right? This one and Ocarina of Time are like tied for my favorite one, and this one's like up in like my top 10, top 6, top within that range. I don't know. I generally can't see a reason why they haven't been upgraded or ported, excuse me, to the Switch. They don't even have to like upgrade it or remaster them or anything. These games are already in 1080p HD. Literally just a port. No upgrades, no remasters, no upscaling like required. But yeah, it blows my mind. I At first I thought that it was something like, oh, maybe Nintendo doesn't want newer Zelda fans that were introduced with Breath of the Wild and that type of formula, to be divided into like the Breath of the Wild onwards type of Zelda formula compared to like the classic, I want to say Ocarina of Time slash Wind Waker slash Twilight Princess, the old school Zelda formula that I've said countless times I prefer and I like over the Breath of the Wild formula. Maybe they want to split it in half, but then Nintendo, they started porting or remaking Link's Awakening and Skyward Sword and other stuff like that. They had the Echoes of Wisdom, and then at least I haven't played Echoes of Wisdom, but obviously at least Skyward Sword and Link's Awakening, they're that classic old school A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, um, Zelda formula, the classic formula. So I was like, wait, so I guess that theory goes out the window. So there's literally no excuse to bringing these two to the Switch. But whatever, man. But yeah, I say go hunt these down. If you want to play, from my opinion, the best version of playing Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, HD, right? They improved the sailing here. They improved the Twilight Realm where you have to collect the. Oh my god, I haven't played this game in so long, so my memories, the little glowing bugs or whatever it was that I forget. When you're trying to recuperate um the light world from the Twilight world. I know, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's been a while, but I forget the exact name. Stuff like that. They improve those aspects. Um, and yeah, I generally don't know what to say, but yeah, unfortunately, there's that dumb reason that we don't know why still. Another thing too is that if you're gonna start getting these games, you should do it now rather than later, because these are going up in price. This is like a 70-80 dollar game, maybe you can find it as low as 60, and this is definitely way over 100. It's like 120. At one point it was like 150, but I think now it's come down to like 120, 110. So I say get these. I was lucky and I got these on release when they came out. But yeah, the Kirby game and the Star Fox game. The Kirby game you could easily find it on 20-ish, 25. The Star Fox game is like a good 15 to $18 game, maybe 20. And then Nintendo Land you could find it for like $5-10. Um, but other than that, yeah, I think you guys should get these 5 games. I know there are some other ones, some third party ones like Sonic Lost World, where it's only on Wii U, and I know some of like the Mario and Sonic the Olympic games. Those are obviously only on Wii U, like the Rio one and the 2014 Winter one. But you know, those are games that they have. For example, Sonic Lost World is also available on Steam, and the Mario and Sonic games, you know, they have their versions on the Wii and on the Switch, and they're arguably better. You know, the Wii versions of the Mario and Sonic games, the Olympic ones, I think they're way better on Wii and on Switch. But regardless, you know, you have those options for those. These ones, I think all these games are stuck on Wii U. You know, I guess, you know, besides I guess the Zelda ones. But even then, GameCube games, if you want to get the GameCube version of these two, there's still a lot. So it's like, you know, you're kind of SOL, because it's like no matter if you get Wind Waker on GameCube or on Wii U, it's like over a $70 game. And then no matter if you get Wind Waker, I mean Twilight Princess on GameCube or Wii U, you're still paying over 100. That's only if you want to get the Wii version. But at that point, you know, the game is flipped and it's motion controls, blah blah blah, etc. But yeah, regardless, let me know what you guys think. Are there other Wii U games that maybe I've missed, that are probably you know, only on Wii U that I have not upgraded to the Switch? Let me know. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you guys think I deserve it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, as I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and hopefully, you know, I hit that goal real soon. You know, I really want to see how far I can get with YouTube and stuff. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys for watching. Peace.